The first thing I remember is the color white, the sterile white of hospital sheets, the washed-out white of the ceiling, and the pale, worried face of the man holding my hand. "Ben," I whispered. "My husband. He told me my name was Chloe. He told me we had been married for 5 years. And he told me I had been in a car accident. A bad one." The doctor explained it with gentle clinical words. Retrograde amnesia. A neat little bomb that had wiped out the last 12 months of my memory. For me, it was August 2024. For the rest of the world, it was August 2025. An entire year of my life was a complete and utter blank. Ben was the perfect, doting husband. He brought me home to our beautiful house, which felt both familiar and strangely foreign. There was a new, expensive-looking sofa in the living room I didn't recognize, and photos on the mantelpiece of a smiling, happy couple on a beach in Thailand, a trip I had no memory of taking. "It was the best year of our lives, Chloe," Ben would say, stroking my hair. "We were so happy. I got that big promotion, we traveled, we fell in love all over again." He showed me his phone, scrolling through pictures of our perfect year. In every photo I was smiling, but my eyes seemed distant, haunted. I tried to settle back into my life, but I felt like an actress playing a role she hadn't rehearsed. I'd get flashes, moments of intense déjà vu followed by a wave of inexplicable dread. A neighbor I didn't recognize gave me a look of pure pity in the grocery store. I found a stunning, expensive dress in my closet that I didn't remember buying, and when I touched the silk, a feeling of cold sadness washed over me. Ben brushed it all off as post-accident trauma. "Don't push yourself, my love," he'd say. "It will all come back in time." The discovery that changed everything was an accident. I was looking for an old poetry book on our bookshelf when my fingers brushed against a small, cold object tucked between the pages. It was a key. Small, ornate, and utterly unfamiliar. It wasn't for our house or our cars. An instinct I didn't understand told me the lock was somewhere close. I searched the house like a woman possessed. And finally, I found it. At the very bottom of my wardrobe, hidden under a stack of winter sweaters, was a locked metal box. I'd never seen it before in my life. With trembling hands, I inserted the key. It turned. I lifted the lid, expecting to find old letters or perhaps a forgotten diary, but it was nothing like that. Inside, nestled on a bed of black foam, was a stack of $100 bills, a cheap prepaid burner phone, and a single folded piece of paper. It was a receipt from a private investigator, dated 2 days before my accident. My heart hammering in my chest, I turned on the burner phone. It had one saved message thread. The last text was one I had sent, time-stamped just 1 hour before my car crashed. It read, "I know what you did. I have the proof. I'm going to the police." I stared at the phone, the words blurring through a sudden haze of tears. I know what you did. What had I known? What proof did I have? And who was I threatening to go to the police about? The loving, doting man sleeping peacefully in the room next door? The receipt from the PI was for a background check, and the subject of the investigation wasn't a stranger. It was my best friend from college, a woman named Julia. I hadn't seen or spoken to her in years. Why on earth was I investigating her just before my accident? The locked box was a Pandora's box of a life I didn't recognize. My perfect year with Ben suddenly felt like a beautifully constructed stage, and I was the only one who didn't know the play was a tragedy. I knew then that I couldn't trust my husband. He wasn't my caretaker, he was my gatekeeper, carefully curating a version of my life he wanted me to see. I had to retrace my own steps to become the detective my past self had been. I started with the private investigator. I called his office the next day, pretending to be myself, asking for a follow-up. "Ah, Chloe, good to hear from you," he said. "I was worried when I heard about the accident. Did you ever get a chance to use the information I sent you?" "My memory is a little hazy," I lied. "Could you resend the final report?" The report that landed in my inbox an hour later was a bombshell. Julia, my long-lost friend, had started a tech company a few years ago. And her primary business partner, the co-founder who had invested a huge sum of money, was my husband, Ben. It was a secret investment. He had funneled a significant portion of our life savings into her company without my knowledge. But that wasn't the worst of it. The investigator had uncovered a series of damning emails. Ben and Julia weren't just business partners, they were having an affair. The business trips he had taken were trips with her. The tech conferences were romantic getaways. My trip to Thailand? It had never happened. The photos were fakes, cleverly photoshopped pictures Ben had used to build a narrative of our happy year. In reality, while I thought we were falling in love all over again, he was systematically draining our finances to build a new life with another woman. My past self had discovered all of this. She had found the secret investment, the affair. The burner phone was for her secret investigation. The locked box was where she kept her proof. The last piece of the puzzle clicked into place with horrifying clarity. My accident. It hadn't been an accident at all. The realization hit me with the force of a physical blow. The accident had happened on a deserted stretch of country road at night. The police report said my brakes had failed. I had been on my way to meet someone, according to my phone records. "I'm going to the police," my last text had said. Had Ben found out? Had he tampered with my car to silence me? The loving man who tucked me in at night was a stranger, a monster wearing my husband's face. My home was not a sanctuary. It was a prison designed to keep me docile and forgetful. I had to get out, but I couldn't just run. He was watching me. And I still didn't have the proof my past self had mentioned in her text. The PI report was damning, but it was circumstantial. I knew the proof had to be somewhere Ben wouldn't think to look. He had cleaned out my phone and laptop, but he hadn't known about the burner phone or the locked box. What else hadn't he known about? My mind flashed to my office. Before my perfect year, I was a graphic designer. I still had a small office downtown that Ben had encouraged me to keep, calling it my hobby space. I hadn't been back since the accident. I told Ben I wanted to try and ease back into my old life, to see if my office would jog my memory. He was delighted, eager to support my recovery. The office was dusty and silent. I walked in, and the memories of the past year hit me like a tidal wave. Not real memories, but shadows, feelings, a sense of frantic, late-night work. The smell of fear. On my desk was a large design pad. The top page was a sketch of a logo for a shell corporation I didn't recognize. And under it, I found what my past self had hidden. It was a USB drive, disguised as a simple keychain. I plugged it into my computer, my hands trembling so badly I could barely guide it into the port. The drive contained one folder. Inside were copies of bank transfers, secret contracts, and a recorded phone call. It was a call between Ben and Julia. They weren't just having an affair and stealing our money for their company. Their company itself was a front, designed to launder money for one of Julia's criminal clients. The proof wasn't just about his betrayal of me, it was proof of serious, jailable felonies. My past self hadn't just been a scorned wife. She had been a whistleblower on the verge of exposing them all. That night, Ben came home to find me sitting in the living room, the lights dim. I wasn't the confused, docile patient he had been caring for. The look in my eyes was one he hadn't seen in a very long time. It was the look of the woman I used to be. "I remember everything, Ben," I said, my voice as cold and clear as glass. The color drained from his face. He saw the USB drive on the table between us. He knew the game was over. He didn't get to run. This time, I was the one who had made the call. The police were already on their way. My accident hadn't broken me. It had only delayed the inevitable. The truth had been waiting in my own mind all along, and once it was unlocked, it was unstoppable. I had lost a year of my life, but I had found something far more valuable, myself. And she was done being a victim.